Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have an interview with God. God, we'd like to thank you for being here today as we know that your time is more valuable than anyone else's.
Hey, it's no big deal. After all, I have all of eternity.
Well, that's true. Well, let's start with the first question, God, then. A lot of people say that you were never born, that you had no creator, that you just always were. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I was never born. I just always was. No one made me. No one created me. I've just always been here. At least far as I can remember.
Well, so that means you had a whole lot of time on your hands then, huh?
Well, no, actually, before I created the universe, time didn't exist. It wasn't until I created the universe that time began. So, technically speaking, I didn't have a lot of time on my hands. I was just kind of bobbing around, if you will.
All right, so then what was there before the universe?
Well, that's a good question, and really there was nothing. So, I got kind of bored, to be honest. It was a very dull time of my existence. I have to be quite honest.
So are you suggesting that you created the universe out of sheer boredom and that you did it only for your entertainment?
No pun intended, but hell yeah. Wouldn't you? You don't know what it's like to sit around all the time, no one to talk to, and nothing to do. Just just gets on you after a while. So yeah, I created the universe because I was bored.
I mean, that sounds like a ridiculous task to create the universe with all the countless galaxies and trillions of stars and planets. I mean, was it difficult?
Oh no, it was no big deal, man. I just snapped my fingers. Just snapped my fingers and it just popped into existence.
All right, okay. So let me ask you this then. Before the universe began, before there were any languages, you had no one to talk to, but I'm sure that you did have thoughts. So, in what language were your thoughts?
English. I've always preferred English. I mean, I've always thought in English. And matter of fact, you might find this a little weird, but God does talk to himself. And every time I talk to myself, it's always in English. Always English.
Okay. All right, let's move on to humankind. Why did you decide to create humans?
Listen, after I created the universe, it was still too boring. I mean, there was really kind of nothing happening, just clouds of matter bumping into each other in outer space. That's not exciting. I needed kind of a soap opera. I needed things happening. I needed to create some beings that can do some things for themselves so I can objectively watch them. That I thought would really be funny.
So, you created Adam and then Eve. Is that correct? I mean, why did you do it in that order?
Well, first I put Adam down there to, watch him and see how he would interact with the world. Then I realized I wanted to see more people. So I had to figure out a way for people to make more people themselves without me having to interact every time. Maybe I'm a little lazy. So I came up with Eve, and I figured that'd be a good way for them to procreate and make more of their own kind.
But when you created Eve, you took a rib from Adam. Why did you need to take a rib from Adam? I mean, couldn't you have created Eve out of nothing like you did the entire universe?
Well, certainly I could have, but the rib thing, that was just a little practical joke between me and Adam. You know, a little high school type humor. You know, I've been lonely all these eons.
All right, so let me ask you this then. Why Earth? Why Earth? Out of all the trillions and trillions of planets to choose from, why Earth?
Earth, I just like Earth. It's always been my favorite Earth. Kind of like English. I've always liked English. Um, you know, it's like a painter. He was going through a long career, and he's got tons of paintings out. He always has one or two that are his favorite. Same with musicians and writers and things like that. Well, I'm no different. Earth is my favorite creation.
All right, well that's fair enough. That is fair enough. Let's switch subjects now, God, and let's move on to Satan.
I knew you were going to bring him up.
Well, of course I'm going to bring up Satan, and I have to ask you, isn't it true that you could kill Satan at any time and end all evil and pain and misery that exists in the world today?
You're damn right that's true. And he knows it too. And you know the reason I don't kill Satan. I mean, because the whole story would be over. That'd be the end of the story. There's no more story. I mean, we gotta have good and evil, otherwise, I don't have my soap opera.
All right, but your soap opera aside, why so much pain and misery in the world?
Did you ever have an ant farm when you were a kid?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Watching the ants running up and down.
yeah,
Did
sure.
you ever really give a shit about the ants?
No.
I mean, they're to be looked at, they're to be watched, but if one ant rips another one in half and destroys it, do you really care? Or is that really what you got the ant farm for?
Boy, that is a very interesting point. So why make animals have to kill each other and rip each other apart in sheer agony just to be able to eat and survive? Isn't there a better way to live?
Like I said, entertainment value. I mean, what do you want me to do? Just make all the animals just eat plants all day long and then there's no action, no fun? I mean, what would I sit here and watch all day? I mean, you, come on. I think the Earth is a very exciting place the way I created it. And it's going to stay that way, whether you like it or not.
So when we die, do we get to go to heaven with you, God?
Well, yeah, sure, you get to go to heaven. The only thing is I don't live there. I got a much nicer place. Yeah, I don't like to associate with humans too much. I don't interact with them very often. There's been a few, like Abraham and Moses. You know, I let them come over the house once in a while. But the other humans, they get heaven, but they don't get to see me because I got a much nicer place.
So do animals go to heaven?
No, no animals get to go to heaven. No insects or birds or any other creatures except for humans. None of any kind get to go to heaven. As a matter of fact, every other creature on the earth that lives, with the exception of humans, when they die, that's it.
So when my pet dies, he doesn't get to go to heaven?
No, it's getting too crowded.
I gotcha. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you today, God, for this interview that you've given us. It was very gracious of you to appear here today. Is there anything you'd like to tell us in closing before we finish this interview?
Well, there is one important thing I would like to add, and I'm very glad you asked me. Let's go, G-Men, baby! Woo!